Well, so glad to be with you today. I'm online from California, so a little bit early my time, but anytime is a great time to talk about game development in the cloud, anywhere. I am the Director of Cloud Graphics here at AMD, and I've had the privilege to work with AWS on our graphics instances. My background is I'm a vet in the GPU space. I worked for NVIDIA for 6 years, ran GeForce marketing. I moved into cloud-based instances, doing virtualized desktops and the like, and with NVIDIA Grid, then moved over to AMD, where I head up our business development for our cloud graphics organization. Basically, cloud graphics means putting graphics cards for visualization, and visualization for us means everything from gaming to virtual desktops, rendering, any kind of workload where you're essentially moving a pixel from the cloud to a user, and that's kind of what we do here. So. But I'm really excited to talk to you about AMD's vision and what we think about what's happening and the things impacting game development and how AMD and AWS can help in that regard. So a few things going on. Number one, work habits. Well, you know, last year's been crazy, still going on. There's been an unprecedented increase in home working. And companies and game developers are really trying to reevaluate their IT strategies to make sure that those people, those artists, developers working from home or working in any place, any location in their environment are getting the best capability from a compute experience as possible. Secondarily, applications are becoming more complex for game developers. So to build a blockbuster game, you really need a heavy suite of 3D applications. You need tools, you need plugins, you need a lot of technology that all come together, and you need the horsepower to be able to run that. Anything less really decreases your artist's productivity and impacts your user experience. And then finally, you know, faster game to market, meaning that, you know, game development is kind of this double-edged sword. You know, there's this constant demand for new original content, new unique gameplay, high graphics, graphics fidelity, this all kind of leads to longer development time. But then at the same time, we're getting demands from publishers and gamers who are just chomping at the bit, wanting to get their hands on new games. They want them sooner. And we saw that with Cyberpunk 2077. I think we all, it's a wonderful game, but I think it was a little bit too early, and the industry and the developers for that are really kind of paying the price. So a lot of things going on as far as impacting the game, and there's also limitations to today's production pipeline. First and foremost is, you know, we talked about asset complexity and software complexity, but the assets are becoming more complex, and essentially the demands to deliver higher fidelity and functionality is becoming, in some ways, too big to handle. So the software stack is really important. The cloud solves this by essentially centralizing everything. It centralizes your data, your applications, and your compute resources as well. Then you layer that on top of data security. So studio's IP is the family jewels, and data needs to be protected at all costs. So if you have an army of artists and you have programmers all over the world, and you have multiple studios, sharing data is really paramount to the success of the program and the game itself. And being able to do that from the cloud is what we believe at AMD and AWS is the proper way to do things. And then finally, budgets. You know, budgets kind of limit how far we can go as a studio. This includes everything from staff and IT and business operations, administrative. So any new way to stretch your budget should be considered, and running your game development in the cloud is definitely one way to do that. So I mentioned this, the solution really is the cloud, and the services offered by AWS and EC2 and their game platforms, namely GameTech and Luna, are definitely ways to help you as a game developer maximize your resources and facilities and creators by essentially running your game development in the cloud. And at AMD, we're really happy to be able to partner with AWS to provide a number of families of instances that I'll get into to essentially dramatically streamline your production pipelines and meet the challenging landscape of the game industry. So why AMD and AWS for game development in the cloud? Well, first and foremost is the fact that we have virtual workstations and desktops. So I love this picture on the left. I remember these days. Remember the old cathode ray workstations that we all worked on, and the excitement we had when we got to experience some new hardware. Well, now we have these powerful workstations in the cloud, and AWS has a range of virtual desktops and virtual workstations, providing these high performance experiences, but the capabilities to essentially deploy games and to develop more cost effectively. There's an instance essentially for every workload. I'll get into what that means in a little bit. AMD's RDNA architecture is the architecture essentially that we use to build our GPUs and our graphics capabilities for PCs, consoles, and now the cloud. So by developing on AMD Instances, you are developing essentially with that familiar RDNA infrastructure and architecture. With that, you have the ability to essentially easily port your games to consoles, PCs, mobiles, whatever. And then finally, having the extensive choice of resources and services, meaning that your studio success is having a range of services like Gamelift and like Luna, and then the instances capable of running your games and your development applications in the cloud with AMD Instances allows your business to be flexible and agile as this crazy industry as it evolves. So how does the cloud improve your production pipeline? This is the million-dollar question that everyone's trying to figure out. Well, first and foremost, you have the ability to enable all these remote artists and establish kind of this real-time collaboration among people and artists all over the world, and doing it with workstation class experiences or workstation class performance that is needed to accelerate the latest 3D workloads. Basically, all your artists become united on one platform. It's incredibly efficient for studios to track the creation and development of pipelines and projects when it's on one platform in the cloud. You're also able to scale up resources. So projects are spiky, meaning that a project will start and you're going to need to scale up your resources, be it an artist, be it a creator, be it an editor, an administrator. That has to happen immediately. The cloud is by far the best way to do this. So as your success grows, the growth and the growth of your projects and the capabilities are getting pulled along with it. So those workstations your artists need are really at the click of a button. You can essentially establish workstations within AWS EC2 on your G4AD, which is the AMD family of instances, almost instantaneously. And then data management and having control over that data management. So providing access to core data information is paramount to working effectively and getting the most out of those resources. Studios can share through virtual workstations assigned to each artist for specific projects. And the only thing really that leaves the data center is the encrypted pixel data stream that goes from the cloud and the server that is running AMD in the cloud to the user's screen. There is no ability to download any kind of protected data. And that kind of leads us into IT flexibility and agility. So studios have had to accommodate an unprecedented increase in home networking, home working, and collaboration from workers all over the globe, and really kind of this uncertainty about the shape of work in the future, as many are reevaluating their public cloud offerings. Flexible cloud services from AWS and AMD provide studios and your game developers and creators greater agility when comparing these investments to traditional workstations, so workstations that you would put under your desk for your staff. So you essentially go from an OpEx or from a CapEx model to an OpEx model. There's no large outlay for servers or workstations or hardware, and no surprise costs in the event of a failure or a required upgrade. So let's get a little bit more into the instances that AMD provides at AWS. Our goal is to essentially accelerate as many workloads as possible, and we're doing that through both our CPU and our GPU instances. And we see them in the form of personas. Essentially, who runs these instances and what are they doing in those instances? So we have 4 different personas that we kind of establish as those people and those users essentially that we want to enable. The first is 3D artists and animators. So this is a very typical persona. It's artists and animators using Photoshop and Blender for rendering, Houdini, Maya, 3ds Max. The appropriate instances for this is our G4AD instances, and there's 2 of them that we would recommend, the 4x large and the 8x large. So this gives you a maximum amount of GPU capability. It also gives you AMD CPU capability and a good amount of storage to keep your data sets fresh. And you have enough storage essentially to maximize your development in your environments. The game developer is essentially a creator running on a game engine like Unity or Unreal, using Lumberyard or Maya. The instance there we would recommend is the G4X large, which is the smallest version of the G4 instances. Very cost effective. You can spin these up and distribute them on an hourly basis to your developers, and it gives you a very high-end workstation. We think it's probably the most performant workstation in the cloud these days, all at a touch of a button. Administrative and support staff is really important. So these are people using Office 365, Shotgun, web-based applications. We have instances for them as well. The M5A and the T3A are really high on CPU performance, not so on GPU performance. You really don't need GPUs at this point in time, but it also gives you a lot of storage. And then if you're doing rendering, either offline rendering or final real-time rendering, the C5A family of instances are optimal for that. So it's built for running applications like Arnold and Keyshot and RenderMan. So a number of different instance families, both CPU and GPU, enabling the key personas in your development environment. So let's move into the AMD-based instances themselves. So we have 5 different instance families with AWS. It's amazing, 5 instance families, and really this has been spun up just over the last 2 or 3 years. So we're really excited to work with AWS on this. So the first instance family on the far left is essentially general purpose compute. It's for balanced computing. It's called the M5A series of instances. It's really high on networking resources, but for just general purpose workloads, things like chat environments, web app servers, and casual mobile gaming, those types of applications. The R5A is a memory optimized family of instances. It provides really fast performance for workloads that process large data sets in memory. So this is really good for MMO games that need a lot of memory and high performance databases. Big data use of the R5 instances as well. The C5A instances are compute optimized. So this gives you really good x86 price performance, and it's really ideal for compute bound applications. And it's built for batch processing, video encoding, any types of applications that need a lot of compute. Now, if you're looking for burstable types of environments, the T3A is the family that we would recommend for you. So this is a baseline level that gives you baseline CPU performance, but with the ability to burst that CPU performance upwards. So this is really good for microservices. Virtual desktops use this family of instances, and very popular for those types of applications. And then finally, graphical processing. So G4AD is the series and family of instances that do graphics processing. And so this is for all your graphics applications. It could be for the game itself. It could be for Windows applications. It could be for rendering. It could be virtual desktops or virtual workstations. This is used for game design and animation, rendering and game streaming. So the net is AMD has a family of instances ready for you, be it general purpose, memory optimized, burstable, graphics, across the board. AMD can support your needs in the cloud. And this is really built on AMD's heritage in the gaming industry. AMD has been in the gaming industry for upwards of 30 years now. So this essentially, it really started. AMD is the technology behind the CPU and GPU technology behind the Xbox and the PS5, and we also work with our game partners like Anika and Slalom and Tech Mahindra and OneStrategy to enable new technologies in the cloud. So all that legacy and the heritage that AMD has built over time, essentially optimizing, running games on a number of different platforms get pulled into the cloud. So a little bit about the technology behind these instances. So the first is our AMD Epic CPUs, our processors that are designed for the cloud. So Epic is our CPU purpose-built for data centers. We provide performance leadership, essentially max cores, max speed, massive I/O for scale-out environments, and enhanced security feature. We essentially have a security engine built into every GPU or CPU that we sell. It really disrupts the total cost of ownership calculation. It allows you to deliver more performance at a lower price. On the GPU side, we have the Radeon Pro V520. So this is the GPU behind our G4AD family of instances. It's based on our architecture called Navi. And Navi is our RDNA GPU architecture. It's the latest and greatest. like I mentioned before, the series of instances are essentially the most powerful cloud-based workstation instances there are these days. The three different instances that are in the family essentially allow you to do all your game development and game streaming on one family of instances. Navi is behind not only our cloud-based instances, but also what we ship for our consumer-based PC graphics card, as well as our consoles. The V520 also runs with very fast, high bandwidth memory with error correction, and essentially it allows the highest type of security. We build security into two engines. We have an engine called SRIOV, and then we have a security engine built into the processor as well. So V520 is the GPU. It's based on our Navi architecture, based on architecture called RDNA, and is built for the cloud and built for AWS. So take advantage of Amazon Gamelift and the low-cost game servers it provides. It's low latency, very high availability, a lot of flexibility. We have AMD technology in all these regions. The number of regions are growing significantly. I think there's 5 or 6 new regions just in the last 6 months or so. So again, AMD is very proud to partner with AWS to provide the back end, the technology to allow game development to happen quicker with higher performance technology processing at a lower cost to you and your company. Some examples of the companies that have taken advantage of AMD powered instances: Crowfall, the Artcraft Entertainment company, and Crowfall is an MMO. Intrepid Studios, also a game developer who have used our instances. Sprinkler is an enterprise software company. They're using M5A, R5A, and C5A to really drive more capability at a lower cost. WeGo is a leading online travel marketplace. They also use our C5A instances. And then another gaming company that really specializes in iPhone games called That Gaming Company is a studio that built a new game called Children of the Light. It was named Apple's iPhone Game of the Year. It really leans into C5A to support their back-end services. So a number of kind of use cases as well as success stories that we see on AMD technology. And with that, I do have some time for Q&A. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my presentation. As I mentioned, AMD is committed to making your life easier and providing you with the technology you need to fit into your budget. So really looking forward to working with AWS and the development community to make that happen over the next number of years or decades and centuries as we move forward in this crazy marketplace. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll take questions if you have any.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. It was a pleasant presentation, and I like that the CX8 for ZBrush and the 3D Studio Max and Maya. This is my background. This is a powerful machine, to do sculpting on ZBrush and using Maya. Maya was one of the best softwares of Autodesk. Thank you for AMD, providing that powerful machine. I don't know if we have anything from the feature and the guys on the back end. If not, I do have a couple of questions for you myself.
Sure.
Okay, I don't think so. We have anything. Okay, is those instant types? They are available worldwide on every region in the world now for AWS. Like the region You got
Right.
the US West and the US East, Europe, and in the Middle East they got the Bahrain and.
Exactly. Yeah. Check. Make sure to check. We're rolling them out quickly with AWS. I know not all the instances are available in all locations, so it's really important to figure out. But the rollout's been very quick, and so we're really excited that we obviously started in the U.S. and Europe, but now we're rolling into the Middle East, into Asia, Southeast Asia, South America, a number of places. Yes.
Okay, cool. And so I don't know if you have an answer for that question. So what kind of encryption you guys using for that graphic card on the security? You mentioned security on one of the graphic cards.
Sure, yes. Yeah, so every graphics card that we implement, we put into a AWS data center has a security processor built in. So it's essentially handshakes with the CPU to make sure that the security is rooted into the right locations. Security is high as far as running game instances in the cloud. So, and I know security is really important for game studios. Essentially, when you have a dispersed workforce working on all types of things from all over the world, it's really important that not only you centralize your data, but you're running it on secure technology.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think so. We have any more questions, and thanks again, and thank you for sponsoring this event. I believe you are on PST, Pacific Standard Time.
Yes, I'm in California.
Yeah, I'm in Arizona. I'm below you.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So we have any more questions for you? Thanks again, and thanks for sharing those wonderful information.
Great.
And we're gonna move forward to the next speaker.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Goodbye.